Spatz here. How you guys doing today? Thank you for checking out our first episode here on fly tying for the Chattahoochee. This first pattern is going to be the easiest pattern we're going to talk about, and you know, it's one of the best Chattahoochee flies you're actually going to be able to find. This is what's called a zebra midge. So a zebra midge, you know, they're extremely effective fished around most tailwaters in the southeast and probably around the world. I love them. Midges are around year-round on the Chattahoochee. So zebra midge is the nymph of the midge. Very effective around the dam, Bowman's Island, and settles. Great fly to drop, you know, 3-4 feet underneath the dry of your choice. So it's a pretty simple fly. You know, generally what I'm going to use is a Timco 2487 size hook. Now for those beginners, it doesn't mean much. Basically that's a size 22. Now I'm using a bigger size for the video, obviously, but it's a size 22 hook. It's a caddis pupa hook. It's got a pretty much a wider gap on it, but a nice curve with it as well. So it's you know, what I would say is go into the fish hawk, tell them you're going to tie some zebras, and they're going to set you up right. Now, got a little bead on the end here. Again, fish hawk will get you with the right size beads for whatever size hook you can do. Now with a zebra midge, you can fish them anywhere from 16 and up. The higher the size, the smaller. I like 22s, 20 to 22 myself. Now we're going to be using black thread here. The thread is actually a 14-0, very small thread. You know, you can get away with the 8-0 or whatnot, but I like the thinner thread for the smaller flies. Now we're going to start our thread off here at the top at the bead, and you put your tag end in your left hand and just kind of work it over that tag end there, all the way down to about halfway through. Once you're there, take your scissors and clip that tag end off. Alright? Now, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take us all the way down to the curve of this hook. Now, you always want to be careful there around that point. If you hit that point of your hook, you can shred that line very quick. Now, at this point, now I'm down at the end, I'm going to take some wire. In this case, I'm going to be using a copper ultra wire. You know, basically, this here is the BR size. Typically, I'd like to use something a little smaller, but this actually works. Now, when I'm tying this in, I want to use about enough length tied in that goes all the way to the point here. And I'll just hold it here at the end at an angle and just kind of start wrapping it. And then as I wrap it, it forces it along the curve. The reason why I picked this long size is because what it does, it actually adds some extra girth for you in there when you're doing your tying, so that it actually just basically adds on to the body of your zebra midge. Now, what you want to do is go ahead and cover the entire wire so that you can't see any of it. Now what you're actually doing is you're making the body of your zebra midge as well. So what I like to do is taper it kind of towards the middle, so that the middle's a little fatter than the rest of the body. Now every so often you're going to have some spots that look uneven. Just as you kind of go across it, you can even them out, spend a little bit more time with the you know, with rolling it up. Now this is a bigger size hook I have here. Generally that's going to be the width that you're going to want on a size 22, so you don't have to use a lot of thread. Now, being that I'm using a big hook for this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and just make it a little fatter here in the middle. It's a lot of thread I'm using there. Alright, and that's good enough. Now you want to end your thread at the tip here. Now, this step that I'm going to take right now is not necessarily, is not 100% necessary. But I enjoy doing it. I feel it makes that the fly lasts a little bit longer, and it gives it a nice little sheen that I like. What I'm going to do is use this Sally Hansen Hard as Nails, also known as Shan in the Georgia fly fishing community. You know, your wife probably has some, as your girlfriend, what have you. You know, just go across. It's just a clear nail polish, and then I'll just go across and kind of cover the body. Now, what this does is it does two things. It hardens the thread, but then as it dries, it actually absorbs into it, and it makes it look a little bit more buggy to me, a little bit more segmented. Now, at this point, you know, if you smoke a cigarette, go smoke a cigarette. If you drink, go have a beer, you know, or just walk away, play with the dog, give your wife some loving for a couple minutes. Alright, so take about a 2-minute break here, and when we come back, it should be dried enough that we can go ahead and wrap it. It doesn't have to be perfectly dry, just pretty good and dry. Okay, so now it looks like it's dried enough here. Now the next step is for us to create the rib pattern on it. Now that's why we tied in this wire here at the end. Remember, we kind of tied at a 45-degree angle and then ran it up along the body to give it a little bit of extra girth. Now we're going to wrap this around. Now what I like to do is start with a good tight wrap there at the end. And then from there, I'm going to space them out pretty nicely to make a good, even spiral around the body of your fly. Now you might ask me, why don't I put the shan or epoxy on after I do my wraps? Well, the reason why, from what I found out, is if you put it on afterwards, the ribs, after catching some fish, the ribbing will actually start cutting the epoxy, and it causes it to flake and just not really look as nice. Now, I get that last wrap up to the bead here. At this point, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can even do a 5th wrap. Just want to make it nice and tight there. Now at this point, I'm going to hold my line here in my left hand and take the wire in my right. I'm just going to shake it. Just kind of pull it back and forth like that. Give it a little bit of tension, because eventually what's going to happen is this is just going to break off like that. The fact that it's breaking off is way better than using your scissors. Number one, you don't ever want to use the point of your scissors to cut line, and that's pretty much the only way to get in there, or to cut wire, because it's going to wear them out. I have this set of scissors that I do all coarse cuts and wire cuts in this set right here for my thread. This way the wire doesn't damage it, but by shaking it, it gets it nice and tight so you have no point there, and then it also basically makes it so that it's a nice clean cut and it doesn't ruin your scissors. Now at this point, we're almost done. All you're going to do is just build a little thorax here right up against the bead. You don't want to go too far back on your thorax, because if you do, you're going to end up covering up your rib that you just made, the rib you made with the copper. But you want to build the thorax up so it's noticeable. It's a little bit bigger than the rest of the body. Alright, and then once my thorax is done, I'm just kind of evening it out there. I'm going to go use my whip finisher here. And when I do whip finish, a lot of people only do 3 times. I don't think it matters to go over. If you aren't doing a very big fly, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, you kind of build up the thorax a little bit with the whip finisher. Go around a few times. There you go. Grab my thread scissors. Trim it as close to there as I can. And then at this point, you know, you're going to want to go ahead and seal your knot. So I use the same cement that I've got there, put a little bit on my boykin here, get kind of a little drop on it, and then just basically touch it on there, and then just get it over the whole knot. Keep it off your bead. There you go. And that, my friends, is a zebra midge. Now, like I said before, this is a great fly. You can find this extremely effective in many other colors. Common colors, my favorite, of course, is the black. That's my go-to. And then you also have colors such as red, brown, green. Doesn't matter. You know, figure out what you like. I always say to people, experiment. You know, this is a great standard fly. You can also do what's called a hot spot on the fly. So, you see right now I've made it with the tip there being black. Well, I can also use what they call Florida orange. I hate Florida, go dogs, right? But Florida orange is a nice little hot spot. And what you'll do is you'll actually just tie it in here at the end. Give it a couple wraps. There, just kind of where the thorax was. Let's trim this off. You can just kind of trim it right there around the end. Build up a nice little orange thorax as opposed to black. Whip finish it into there. Now if I was doing this, generally I would not have built up the black thorax already. I would just use this one as the thorax. I'd whip finish the black right off the bat, and then I'd move in and then do this one over it. You can tie it in if you like for more advanced tires, but I feel that honestly if you just do it separately with a separate whip finish, it's just as effective. Throw a little bit of your sealant on there, whether you're using shim or something else. Kind of get around it evenly. Wipe off my bead, and then there you go. Now you have a hot spot zebra midge. Very effective flies. Thank you for tuning in here, and I look forward to catching up with you guys later. Have a good one.